us about a time your company faced a crisis and how your leadership style had to change during this time.
Well, I think for the first 20 years of our life, 81 to 2001, we really didn't encounter a problem. There was growth year after year. And the dot-com bust, when it happened, it actually sent a lot of shock waves through the whole sector all over the world. And our learning business was no exception. The software company made a transition into a different strategic transition. They handled the change in one way. The learning business, being a consumer business, almost stopped in the tracks, because young people who were coming to learn computers and IT with us suddenly started wondering whether this industry is going to be around or will it have growth or not. So there was a huge jolt in the market. The size of the market for, I think, 5 consecutive quarters, the industry was shrinking. For the first 2 of those quarters, we also shrank as a company, first time in our history. But the third quarter was flat, the next 2 quarters we went up. So at the end of 5 quarters, we were slightly smaller than what we were, but the market share had gone up because the rest of the industry collapsed much more. They kept shrinking for another 6 or 7 quarters. So we had a mixed feeling at the end that our market share is bigger, but we're a little smaller. But what we did when this happened, I think, is the important thing, that the moment we got affected by this shock, it happened for us the first time in our company. It took us a little while to even recognize it. So we promptly decided to invest intensely into new products, new projects, and into research, which thereafter, when we coach our young leaders, we tell them that, when it's a human behavior that if you're suddenly confronted with a crisis, it is said that humans behave in only one of 2 ways, predominant ways. One is what's called the flight response, that you run away from it. The other is a fight response. So I guess we discovered at that time we had a very, very strong fight response. So deciding in the most difficult period to make the biggest investments we've done in our history. So this time when 2008 happened, the US, in India, it took a couple of years to come. We did the same thing again, and again we found that we were the first ones to start investing very heavily. So this time was a more considered thought. That was a kind of a spontaneous reaction. So I guess that was the crisis where, when we look back at it, we feel very good we did what we did. And it was a gut reaction at that time. But the good lesson was that that's the time to invest, when everybody's hiding under the sheets to stay away from the sand. So those are times when everybody else is on the defensive, and if you can be there before anybody else, when the dust settles, you'll be standing there. So that has been, I think, that was a good gut reaction, which has now become part of the company's story.